Okay, next we got to make markup levels. So we've got our main level, and we're going to add 2 sub-levels to it. And these are the markup levels. Markup level is a level that's only going to contain locators. And locators are just actors that specify where the game is going to place stuff inside the level. Stuff like bases, spawn points, basically anything we need to spawn into our level that we haven't already placed in gets put in via locators in the markup levels. We're going to have 2, one for friendly stuff and one for enemy stuff. So let's place those now. I'm going to create a new level, empty level. I'm going to call them MyMod enemies MRK. And you can call it whatever you want, but this is what I call them. And MyMod friendlies MRK. Okay, so these are our 2 markup levels. So we're going to work in the friendlies level first. I'm going to pick a spot, first of all. Or actually, no, let's do this first. So first thing we need to do in both of these is make a configuration controller. Now, a configuration controller now I'm going to place this in here. This is going to be friendlies configuration controller, and I'm going to go into the enemies markup level, and I'm going to place one, and I'm going to name it enemies configuration controller, and I'll just put them at 0, 0, 0. But I don't think it matters where they go. Okay, so now I'm going to go back into the friendlies thing. I'm going to save all of these. Okay, so we got our markup levels, and they're a sub-level in our main level, but don't forget that this doesn't really matter. These are sub-levels only because we want to have the main level in here as reference when we place stuff. But the game itself is going to choose what to spawn based on the AreaTile asset. Okay, so let's go into the friendlies level. My mod friendlies MRK. So here we are. So first of all, we want to pick a spot to land our dropship. And I'm just going to put that basically right here. So we need a dropship landing zone locator, which is not showing up. Maybe it's in that. Maybe it's in here. Okay, so yeah, okay, so I need to drag it in here from the content folder. Dropship landing zone locator. Okay, so boom, there it is. I'll put it over here. Okay, so this is going to be where we spawn in. Okay, so I forgot something. So in our configuration controller, so I'll just quickly explain this. So the game, normally the game, because we have the procedural levels, it picks tiles and makes a level comprised of a whole bunch of different tiles. And all the different tiles have different configurations. And this configuration controller is where we set up all the different configurations in the tile. Obviously, for our level, we're just making one big tile. And so we only need one configuration. But we still have to use the configuration controller for the system to work. So here we go, configuration controller. I'm going to go down in here, and I'm going to go create a configuration definition. And then under key for gameplay tag, I'm just going to call it config.default. And down in here, I don't think we need a theme. Down in here is where all the locators go. So I'm going to add a locator to it. That locator is going to be the only locator we've placed, dropship landing zone locator. Now, I'm going to mention one more time this. It's very important to remember which level you're in, because if I were to have placed my locator in one of these other levels by accident, I wouldn't be able to place it in here, and I'd be going, where's my locator? I just placed it. Fortunately, I placed it in the correct level, and I can select it. Okay, so now we're going to give it a name. I'm going to call this player drop zone. This is going to be the name that we refer to it by in our area specification later. So this is pretty important. So make sure you use a meaningful name here. And that goes for everything. Always use meaningful names. Anywhere you can give stuff a meaningful name, do it. But especially here, because if I just left it at 0, it would be very confusing later on. Okay, so we've got our dropship landing zone locator. Now, what do we need to do? That's fine. We'll just leave that there. Okay. And then we'll go to our enemies markup. That's where most of our stuff is going to be. So I double click on this, and now I'm in the enemies level. So what do we want to put in here? First of all, let's spawn our enemies via a dropship as well. So first of all, actually, let's put in our, well, I'll go in the same order as what I have stuff in the document. So we'll spawn enemies over here. So I'm going to have the base, the enemy base is going to go in here. I think I'll spawn the enemy dropship here. So we need a Hotdrop locator, and I'll just drag that in there. Now the enemy dropship's going to fly in, drop guys here. So now I'm going to make up the configuration for the enemy config controller. I didn't do that yet. It's going to be config default. So this is the same thing I just did in the friendly one, except now I'm doing it in the enemy one. So I'm going to add a locator. It's going to be enemy Hotdrop. Oops. Okay. So now, oh, here's a good point. See, we can see our friendly thing, but that's in the other level. You'll notice I can't add it, so that's good. But the Hotdrop one, that is in our enemy level, so now we have it there. I think if we rotate it, we can say which direction the mechs are going to be looking when they come out. Okay, so we've got that there, and you know what? Let's have two different. We're gonna have two different groups of enemies. So there's gonna be ones that come in via a dropship, and then there's gonna be, maybe we'll spawn some behind this mountain, and they'll come rolling in. You know, once we arrive. Actually, you know what? Instead of making it, so we'll have mechs come in from the dropship. Only mechs can come in a dropship. So you can't spawn tanks or VTOLs from a dropship. But you can spawn mechs. So we'll have the mechs come in from the dropship, but we'll also have some tanks over here and some VTOLs. Actually, let's just do tanks for this part. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go spawn point. Now, this is very important. Just use spawn point for this. Don't use one of the other ones. So I'm going to place this in outside the bounds, blah, blah. Yeah, we don't care about that. Okay, so placed in a spawn point. This is where our tank spawns. Let's aim it towards the base, kind of. And then I'll put in another one. And we can aim that kind of towards the base. And let's put in two more over here. Okay. Okay, so we've got these spawn points. Now, let's name them. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but tank spawn 01 for the sake of being, you know, following our best practices here. Tank spawn 02, tank spawn 03, whoops, and tank spawn 04. And I mean, it wouldn't kill you to go, like, if you really wanted to be specific, you could be like, oh, base tanks left 01, base tanks right 01, whatever, stuff like that. You just give it a good name. So we've got our spawn points here. Now, these are not going to show up in our area spec, but we need to associate them with a wave locator if we want to use them. So we'll place a wave locator, and that we can put in here. And this doesn't matter where this goes. It's just for the data. And this is going to be our tank wave locator. I'll name it that. So what we need to do with the wave locator is add the spawn points to it. Here under auxiliary spawn points, boom, 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 boom. And then we add these in. Now, when we make our area spec later, we can reference this wave locator, and we can spawn enemies at these spawn points. Now, there's one last thing we need to do that I didn't do, is we need to set up what kind of spawner it is. So right now it's none. Now, we need to set it to either tank, mech, or VTOL. We want tank. So we're going to set all these to tank. You can do them at the same time. Maybe you can. Spawner tank. Yeah, okay, good. So there we have our tank spawn points all set up. We've got our, oh, now we have to add the wave locator to the configuration controller. So tank wave locator, and I'll just call it the same thing in here, tank wave locator. Okay, so there you have it. Do we need anything else in our enemy markup level? Yes, we do. We need a base. So, okay, so in our game, we call all bases garrisons. That's just, I guess, a decision that was made early on to avoid using the word base all the time and getting it confused with like base class. So now we call everything garrisons. So basically any level that gets spawned into our level at runtime is called a garrison. So, I mean, there are even garrisons that are just rocks. But, so we need a garrison locator. So there's different size ones. We're going to use garrison forward operating 190 meters locator. We're going to place this right in here. And I'm going to add that also to the config controller. And that's going to be our base. Okay, so so one thing you can do with this configuration controller is you can go up here under editor utilities and go all locators on. And what that's going to do is it's going to show up it's going to reveal some proxies on the viewport here. And those will give us a rough idea of what size and shape our various objects are going to be. But provided that the garrisons in question adhere to the sizes they're supposed to be, it'll be pretty close. So I'll just wait for this to load in. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. If it does, I may have to cut off this video and start a new one. A lot of times this stuff only takes a long time the first time, and then the rest of the time it'll go fast. Okay. Okay, so that took kind of a long time, but whatever, that's fine. Okay, so this shows us the approximate size of the 190 by 190 meter garrison. It looks like our little flat spot on our terrain is just about the right size, but we can move it over a little bit, and maybe move it up a little bit. It'll have like a little dirt pile under it. Okay, so, but let's turn these off. These, we don't need this on for now. All locators off. Okay, fine, good. Now that's done. So we've got our base. We've got our enemy Hotdrop. We've got our enemy spawn points and our wave locator. Now, I also wanted to have a friendly locator, or rather friendly ships spawn in. So let's do that. I'm going to go back into our MyMod friendlies level, markup level, and I'm going to bring in spawn points. Now these are going to be the exact same thing I did with the tanks, but I'm going to put them in. These are going to be VTOLs, so that's going to be like little helicopters that come in. So I'm going to put them way out here. And I'll call this VTOL spawn point 01. I'll change it to spawner VTOL, and then I'm just gonna like alt drag these across and make 4 of them. Okay, so kind of gave them ugly names there. I'll just delete the 0. Okay, so now I'm gonna make a wave locator that goes with these VTOL spawners. This is gonna be friendly VTOL wave locator, and it's going to get these 4 spawn points. And in the, where is it? Up here in the friendly configuration controller, I'm going to add friendly VTOL wave locator, and there it is. Okay. So that's done too. And now later on, we're going to be able to refer to that and spawn guys from it. Okay. Okay, so one other thing I want to add that I didn't mention just now is also some waypoints. Now, for that, we just need any locator. I'm going to just drag in locator class from here. So we're spawning over here someplace. I'm going to make a couple of waypoints that lead us to the base. So I'm going to put in one here. Okay. And I'm going to put in one, say, here. Okay. And I'm going to call these waypoint 01 and waypoint 02. Okay. So we got waypoints as well. So I got to add those to the friendly config controller. And we'll set those up. Okay, so now we got waypoints. All right, so I've saved all my levels, like so. And now we're going to make AreaTile assets. So I've talked about these a couple of times already, and we'll just put them in the same folder with all the rest of our stuff. So normally in the game, there would be, like I said, levels made of a whole bunch of tiles. And each one of these tiles would have an AreaTile locator. In our case, we only have one level, but we need 2 AreaTile locators. Here's why. Because normally every tile is flagged as either friendly or enemy. And since we're only having one tile, it can't be both friendly and enemy. So what we're actually doing is placing 2 tiles, one that's going to have the landscape and the enemy markup level, and then another one which is going to have no geometry at all and the friendly markup level. And they're going to be in the exact same spot. But we'll be able to flag the friendly one as friendly and thereby spawn both friendly and enemy units in the map. So we need to make 2 area tiles. So first I'm going to go right click here, go down to MechWarrior 5 MISC and make AreaTile. Okay, and we're going to call it MyMod AreaTile, or we'll go MyMod main AreaTile. And then I'll make another one. I'll just duplicate this and call it MyMod friendlies AreaTile. Okay, so we open it up, double click, and here we get this. So inside the AreaTile, there's a few things. Now this stuff, all this connectivity stuff, we don't care about that. That is only for putting together tiles in the procedural game. So we don't care about that. We don't care about special features. We only care about the level, which is going to be MyMod main tile. Make sure you don't put the AreaTile in here because it'll crash. And then markup level is going to be MyMod enemies MRK. Proxy tile, we don't need. Again, that's just like if you look at the if you look at an area spec for one of the like the area spec from a procedural mission would have a whole bunch of green tile meshes in it just to show you what they look like. We haven't made a spec or a proxy for this rather because we don't need one. So that's this. So now we're done. We're done with the area tile. We're gonna make our other one. Friendlies area tile. All it has is the friendlies markup level. And that's done. So those are done.